Hi, everyone. Today we are talking about another Canadian rum from Carroll's Distillery. Now, if you recall that I had been talking before about their High Ester rum, which was bottled at a rip snorting 65.1%. It was unaged, it was just big eared, bright eyed, and bushy tailed, and it just charged right outside the gate. And the Calgary Rum Club just really took it apart and loved it and hated it in equal measure. This white rum that we're talking about today, which they call the Gannet, which the founder, Matthew Carroll, who shoehorned a pot still into his family's bakery back in 2016 and has been playing around with his muck, his dunder, his distillate, his fermentation ever since. It reminds him, the Gannet reminds him of all the summers in the beaches and wherever in the Maritimes. The company is from New Brunswick, that he remembers so well. And because it's a light rum, it is made for long drinks, not exactly for sipping. And as a consequence, he kind of conflated the two. And just for the sake of information, this lovely piece of artwork for the Gannet is done by a local artist on commission called Liz Fuller. And I really quite like it. I do like simplicity and artwork in labels, and this is definitely one of the prettier ones that I've seen. About the rum itself, so it's molasses based. It's pot still. It's probably comes from, it's the lighter distillates have been taken off in order to make this something that you can mix with. It's not been aged at all. So this is where Canadian liquor regulations just piss me off, because there is a rule that nothing under 1 year of age in Canada, that's made can be called a rum. It's very much like the 2 year rule of Australia. And yet, of course, given the amount of rums from Jamaica and the other places around the world that we can find that are, of course, completely unaged, the government retailers get a pass, like in Ontario and the Maritimes, for example. But local producers labor under the thing that they have to call this. What do they call this thing here? It is a spirit derived from sugarcane products. I mean, what the fuck is that? Just call the goddamn thing an unaged rum and finish, will you? And start to. I hope there are appeals in the Canadian court system that are going to change this nonsense. Whatever, polemics aside, it's a 40% rum, and it has been filtered, I think, but it hasn't been aged at all. So whatever filtration they use is to make sure that they get rid of whatever impurities there are coming off the still or whatever. But that's about it. Beyond that, nothing, right? So you are getting something quite interesting here. Now, if you recall, in the High Ester rum, one of the things that all of us commented on was the amount of licorice that we tasted in it. It was sweet. It was really kind of very, very fruity with pineapple and all the rest of that. This is like a dialed down version of the same thing. And what we get is a little bit of licorice, yes. We get a little bit of sugarcane sap, or at the very least some sugar water, white sugar dissolved into water, just swirled around a bit, that kind of thing. There are some pale fruits, primarily pears and white guavas, that kind of thing. It's juicy, it's light, it's got some green apples in there, some apricots perhaps. The nose really is quite pleasant, and you're not going to be disappointed with it. In point of fact, I would say that this is just about on par with the High Ester, because where that fell down, this is able to kind of like come back up to snuff again, in the sense that there isn't too much licorice, it isn't too strong, and it's much more approachable for the common guy. The spearmint and the marzipan and some of the sweeter pineapple candy floss-like flavors hint at the fact that there's probably some, ester action going on in the background, but the production notes on the website didn't tell me anything about it, and I didn't contact Matthew Carroll in this case to ask him the question. I imagine he'll get back on to me, in which case I'll add some stuff to the show notes. Over and beyond that, how does it taste? Well, 40%. Okay, so I'm tasting this first thing in the morning when the palate is still completely fresh. And I have to admit the nose is really quite a bit better. This is sweet, but not of the kind that if you were to put your fingers here and do like this, you'd get just a bunch of sticky mess. No, it's not like that at all. And it does test out at 40%. Yeah, I did. It's more just sort of like a nice, crisp 7-Up kind of sweetness, whatever that can mean to you, right? It's got some really nice crisp tart fruits. It's got some vanilla. It's got a little bit of citrus to give it a little bit of edge. It's got some candy floss, some chewing gum, and so on. So on that sense, it really is all very, very nice. And I particularly like the finish. Yeah, it gives you no aggro here whatsoever. I mean, you can sip this thing from sun up to sundown on a good summer day in the maritime beaches, and you would have no problems whatsoever. And of course, it's got enough character that you can mix it, and it wouldn't damage the fruits. It would really kind of make a nice daiquiri, I think. Um, so overall, what would I score it? Boy. Now, the high ester, I scored 84, and that came down from a much higher initial ranking because of the prevalence of the licorice that came later. Here, I don't have that problem, so it actually goes up from a lower score to something a bit more positive. I think I'm going to score this about 83, 84 points when I finally get around to writing the review. But it is a really nice, gentle rum that does Carroll's a lot of favors. I think it's something that you should get if you live in Canada. I mean, the thing is dirt cheap. What was it, like 40, 50 bucks? And as a last note, when Matthew saw that somebody from Alberta was ordering his entire range, he got on to me in a real rush and says, hey, stop. Don't buy all this stuff. I got 200 ml samples. I can send you those for free. And I said, okay, champion, this order's there. I want to share this thing left, right, and center, so don't worry about it. I'll take it. But you got to love people who can do that just because they want to kind of like get their products out there to bigger audience. I don't think he knew who I was. But be that as it may, I think it was a really nice gesture on his part, which I didn't take up, but, kudos to the man for being as generous as he was. And if you ever get down to New Brunswick, or if you ever see this in your local stores, I would strongly recommend you give this one a shot. It really, really is quite nice. So that's it for today. And if you have any questions or you want any follow-ups on that, please let me know. Otherwise, have a good day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.